Our next TED Talk speaker is Jon Slayden, one of my best friends. We actually graduated Baptist Bible College together, and I consider him a very young friend since we graduated together. And he's going to talk on the topic of doing hard things even when you're young. Even when you're young. I think this is a great message for all of us, regardless of our age, and you're going to be encouraged by this.
Well, hello, everybody. It's great to join you for this special virtual conference. Greetings from West Texas and from Hope Community Church here in Midland, Texas. My name is Jon Slayden, and it truly is a privilege and a sincere honor to be able to join you for this event. And so I'm thankful for you being here. I want to say a huge thank you, of course, to Randy and the team of people that helped pull all of this together. We know something like this doesn't happen accidentally. So very grateful, Randy, for all the hard work, and the team folks probably at the missions office as well, and just all of those folks who pull that together. Grateful for all of your work. I'm thankful for the BBFI and its influence in my life, and the opportunity to gather and leverage a conference like this that you can watch from anywhere at any time is a pretty cool thing, and so I'm grateful to be able to join you for this special time. The theme for this time is doing hard things. And I know this, that if any group of people knows how to do things that are hard, it's you. It's those folks in ministry. And what we want to do is take a few minutes today and I want to be an encouragement to you. I know that there are difficult decisions that we all face, regardless of location, experience, style. Doesn't matter if you have been in ministry for a really long time or you just started. If you feel like you have a little bit of experience or tons of experience, if you're starting a church, if you're planting a church somewhere or helping a church stay and get healthy, if you're a missionary, if you're a Bible college professor, if you're a college student, if you're on a church staff, if you volunteer, there are difficult decisions to make every single area of ministry. At every age and every season of life, there are hard things that we face. Now, the good news is that each one of those difficult circumstances are also come full of opportunity. And if we can view it that way, it may help us get a much better perspective. So my contribution today is to spend a few minutes talking about leading when you are young and how hard that is. Leading from generational perspective and how difficult that can be. Now, I'm realizing more and more that I'm not as young as I used to be, right? It's interesting how your concept of old tends to shift as you get older yourself, and that is absolutely happening in my life as well. I feel like I'm kind of that in-between time, I think, somewhere in middle ground of what that looks and feels like. It's funny, our son Isaac asked me once, and it was a long time ago he asked me this, speaking of age and generational differences, he said, "Dad, what was life like in the 80s?" As if it was this far gone prehistoric time of nothingness that we had to struggle for survival growing up in a different time and a different season of life that he grew up in as well. He's always known an iPhone. He's always known Wi-Fi. Your concept and my concept may change as we get older ourselves and based on our different experiences even growing up as well. You know, the truth is the way we look at virtually everything can be impacted by the generation we're in. Think about music, think about clothes, think about technology, think about strategies and values, and that comes to what kind of cars we prefer, to what kind of music we prefer, and things like that. And it even applies to the types of approaches to ministry that we have as well. And that's no different. There are generational differences, and if we're not careful, we will see those differences as reasons for division. If we're not careful, we will see the ways when we approach things from different generations and different perspectives as a source of division. And it's good to be reminded, isn't it, that we do have an enemy that would love to divide us by generational lines. Our enemy would love to get us to think that it's younger versus older, or older versus younger. And boy, as a fellowship, it's good to know and be comfortable with understanding, right, that different generations need each other. When I look back, I can think of so many men and women who were older than me, who I watched and learned from, who gave me opportunities, who let me try some things, who let me speak in services, who let me try to lead student ministries, who let me intern, and who gave me all of these opportunities that I have learned so much from even today. Now, I want to encourage you today, right? You are going to decide, and it's up to you, right? We're not going to pull a dividing line on this thing, right? But you're going to get to decide where you put yourself on the spectrum between an older generation and a younger generation. I did hear recently, though, and I thought it was kind of funny, that someone said it this way: if you have to ask, am I in the older generation? That might be your answer already, okay? So maybe that applies to you, maybe not. But I want to give some encouragement across the board generationally when it comes to our fellowship, and I'm not speaking from a point of having all this figured out, but from a point of someone who's grown up in this fellowship and is so thankful for the ones who have gone before me and have much more experience but have invested back into me, and also one who was able to sit inside colleges that are connected to our fellowship and see the younger generations that are coming up behind and see their hearts and see their desire and see those passions. And so it's a bit of maybe a unique perspective. Now today I want to encourage you. You might find yourself and maybe with a bit more experience. Maybe you find yourself in that older generation. And I want to encourage you. You matter to this fellowship. You matter big time to the cause of Christ. Your experience and your wisdom, your skills, your faithfulness, the example that you have set in our setting is so very valuable. You know, the next generations that follow you or me, they need to know that their calling is going to last them a lifetime. They need to know that you can stay in ministry for a really long time. And I want to encourage you, as I continue to watch and learn and try my best to understand as well, that the best we can is to believe in and invest in the next generation, not to resist or resent, not to see difference as a cause for a division, but as an opportunity for generations to come together to be much more effective. Age and experience can be an incredible asset, not a liability. I think about a gentleman who served for a long time at our church. Roger Willis was a youth pastor for over 30 years. Was on our church staff for almost 40 years. And even in those last couple of years he was on staff at our church, we would have interns that would come in every summer, and Roger would spend a couple hours a day just pouring into them, reading books with them, asking them questions, helping them think through things and learn about what ministry was really all about. It was an incredible example. You know, one of the dangers that I can find myself needing to be careful of as I get older is getting stuck in a routine or becoming a little more resistant to change. And that tends to happen if we think generationally instead of missionally about what God has called us all to. So I want to encourage you, if you find yourself in a position where you can invest in someone younger than you, here's a big takeaway for all of us: is be a coach, not a critic. Be a coach, not a critic. It's super easy to criticize other generations, but nobody benefits from that. And there's no sense in it. There's nothing about it that pushes the mission of the gospel forward. It's easy to criticize at times. Different generations, we think, and especially maybe younger ones, they don't know everything. They got a lot to learn. It's different. It's something I would never do. But there's an incredible example in Psalm 71, verse 18, and it's David saying this: "So even to old age and gray hairs, O God, do not forsake me, until I proclaim your might to another generation, your power to all those to come." You know, we see examples in Titus chapter 2 of older generations investing in younger generations. In 1 Peter chapter 5, to shepherd well, older generations investing in younger generations. Now, maybe you might find yourself with a little less experience. Maybe you consider yourself on the younger side of things. And as I continue to learn, I just want to encourage you today that you matter to this fellowship. You matter to the cause of Christ. We need you. We need energy and ideas and passion and forward thinking and bravery and just whatever you bring to the table, this fellowship needs it. Verses like 1 Timothy 4:12 come to mind. Let no one despise you for your youth. Set the believers an example in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity. It's an amazing example that you can be for those generations that are ahead as well. That all of those generations matter. Tim Elmore is an author, and he wrote a book called Generation IY. And there was research done of the upcoming generations. Thousands of people were in this research project, and the number one word used to describe the next generation is a word that you've probably used, and it started with an E. And that research group came to this next generation and said, hey, the number one word used to describe you starts with an E. What do you think that word was? And they used words like extraordinary and things like that. But the word that kept coming up about next generations was the word entitled. And maybe there are times as we're younger, we can look back and think that we are entitled. The same way, maybe as we get older, our danger might be that we get stuck and resistant to change. One of the dangers we have as we're younger, and we could look back and see ourselves this way as well, is that we might think ministry should come easy. We might think everything should happen for us right away, and we get worried if it doesn't happen the way we want right away. We could overestimate what God wants to do with you short term, and we underestimate what God wants to do with you long term. If we're, as a younger leader, there's incredible opportunities. As I look back at growing up in and through ministry and maybe my approach when I was younger, I don't know that I looked for the right kind of advice from folks who had much more experience than me. I'm much quicker to do that now. Age and experience has brought that my way. Now, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 5 says this, likewise, you who are younger, be subject to the elders. Clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility toward one another. For God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So in the same way, maybe if I find myself in an older generation, I could have the heart of a coach, not a critic. If I'm in a younger generation and I'm looking up and I have all this ambition and I want to go, I should also probably recognize that my lack of experience should guide me to humility. In the same way, we want to avoid thinking, hey, just because I'm young, that doesn't mean God can't use you greatly. He can and he will and he wants to. But that should be clothed with humility. As we learn to follow and learn to be under authority and we honor the leaders that God has put above us. You know, I can look back and be thankful for folks who were older than me who gave me opportunities. I think my mind obviously quickly goes to my parents, Lindsay and Carla Slayden, who invest in me, not as just their son, of course, but as someone who needed to grow in ministry and gave me opportunities to speak and to teach and to learn and to try and to go for it. I can think of Pastor Mike Harmon in Ohio, who hired me for my first job in ministry as a youth pastor and didn't know what I was going to do or how I was supposed to do it, but he gave me opportunities and he let me learn. And I can think of even folks like, as a college student, Cliff Anderson, who is a friend who, as an Awana leader, gave a college kid a chance to teach in those Cubbies classes and in those Sparks classes and all of those things to give me experience I needed. I'm sure some of the things I wanted to try, all of those leaders maybe looked at me like, I don't know if that's going to work, but you go ahead and try that. And it gave me such valuable experience. I can think of the leaders on our staff now who are younger than me, and the excitement and the vision and the idea and the passion and energy they bring to the table. I can think of campuses full of college students at Baptist Bible College in Boston and the colleges we're connected with as a fellowship, and that the next generation is full of fire and heart and want to make a difference, and let's pour fuel on that fire. And even the next wave that will follow them. There's something amazing that God wants to do with combined generations. Lastly, let me just read these two verses to you. John chapter 7, verse 17, verses 20 and 21. I don't ask for these only, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one. Just as you, Father, are in me and I in you, that they also may be in us. And here's why. So that the world may believe that you have sent me. And at the heartbeat of our fellowship and the heartbeat of our churches, hopefully, and our individual hearts, is we want to do what we do so that people can know Jesus. So that they can find the hope that only comes through faith and trust in Jesus. And when we do that together, we can see way more things that could ever happen than we can ever do on our own. God bless you. I'm thankful for you, and I'm praying for you as we generationally work together to make a huge difference for the gospel of Christ. God bless you and your ministry.